people are going to chew that money. That's the thing that they say here. They're going to chew or eat that money.
The biggest problem that African Americans have is, number one, we don't need each other in America.
Right.
We don't need each other.
Right.
Like, when I'm in America, I don't, even if we were to hang out, I don't need you. How do you feel about us not being business people or business-minded people and being working for just others, and then coming here where everything is about creating an opportunity for yourself? How does that affect, you as an African American or us as a group when we come to Africa, most notably even here?
It depends on the person's background. I come from street hustling, which is not professional business. So when you come from a background like that and having that kind of hustler's mentality, it'll help you navigate, as far as street life is concerned. But professional business, it's not really gonna help you much at all.
Hi guys, welcome to Uganda. This is the Recruit podcast. On today's episode, we have a returning guest right here. Some of you may know him as King Obutunda. Others can call him Marcus, Makasi, whichever name you want to call him. He lived in Uganda for 2 years, but then he left. So we want to know why he left, and he's just back visiting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, tell the people who you are, for those who don't know you.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, she did actually a wonderful job with everything. But I am known as King Obutunda. I had my own YouTube channel for quite some time, and I decided to take a little bit of a break. I'm actually going back to school now. I'm trying to get my bachelor's, so I want to be more behind the scenes in production. So, vlogging really wasn't really my thing. I took 2 years and I did the whole YouTube thing, and during the whole pandemic, I was stuck here, for those who don't know. And the first year I was stuck. Second year I actually decided to stay because it was actually really, really nice. And I realized very quickly that vlogging is one of those things that if you are not 100% dedicated to, like within every aspect of your life, especially being open, and I'm a very private person, it's just not going to work out. And also I was a travel vlogger. So travel vlogging is also very difficult in itself because of the fact that you have to travel to vlog. And I would often try to go to, very unique places, and it was just many, many complications. One of those things that about Uganda that you have to learn the hard way is that not everything is just going to go as you plan. Sometimes you have to have multiple plans on top of that plan. So when I have a plan A, you got to have a plan B, plan C, point 5, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So right now I'm just focusing on getting my life back on track. And while I've been away, so much has happened. Not all I'm going to talk about, but there'll be some things I will talk about.
So we had a Shoshana on, and why is Uganda is difficult for African Americans. Yeah. Now she was married. She is married actually to a Ugandan engineer. But I remember when I first met you. I think I met you in Qatar. We was actually on our way from Doha. Yeah. I came from Warsaw to Doha, and you was come from Virginia to Doha, and we was on the same flight coming back to Entebbe. Yeah. In 2020.
Shout out Qatar Airways, yo. They're the best airlines.
Yeah, I was on that vlog. What is so difficult for you? Because as an American, a Black African American that loves this country, we both love Uganda. We have a passion for the country. What makes it hard for us to stay here and settle here without having to continue to go back to America?
What made it difficult for me? A few things. First of all, I come from a working class family, not a business class family. So learning business was very difficult for me because I learned it all on my own, and I surrounded myself by individuals like yourself who has a business or have been involved in business. I basically tried to spearhead everything on my own. Every little bit of thing that I know about Uganda, I've learned, by either mistake or by doing my own personal research. And a lot of times that can be very difficult in itself, especially when you're trying to, do business and all these other things, when you don't know how the country operates. And for me, a lot of times, just when I thought I knew how things operate in Uganda, Kampala showed me a lesson I'll never forget. So with that being said, coming to another country, I would say you need to really put boots on the ground and spend a lot of time in that country. And you have to go through things in order for you to understand how you can plug yourself in, start doing business. Because it's not always that easy. there are some people who can come in with a whole lot of money and have a good network of people around them who can set up a business and actually do well. Then there are other people who also have the same circumstances, but because of other reasons, their businesses may not do well.
What other reasons can you specify?
Well, okay. If you don't have the right group of people around you and you do come here with a whole lot of money, people are going to chew that money. That's the thing that they say here. They're going to chew or eat that money. So if you're not careful and you don't understand how business in Uganda works, then you can be, paying for things, spending more money on things than actual necessary.
Right.
Or you could be buying equipment unnecessarily. People overcharging you. There's so many different aspects to that, especially when you have people who you thought that you trust. Sometimes you will just give them the money to go and take care of something and they'll add an extra $1 or $2 shillings on top of something. And then over time, you just start to see your budget getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but the results are not coming in, you're not seeing your profit. So now you're trying to wonder what's going on with your money. But by that time, it's already a little too late.
Let me ask you something. As Americans, most notably like African Americans, we typically work for people, big corporations or the government. We are not entrepreneurs by nature. Maybe we used to be. I think like maybe in the 50s and 60s when we had to be with segregation, but now we kind of lost our way. We don't really do that. How do you feel about us not being business people or business-minded people and being working for just others and then coming here where everything is about creating an opportunity for yourself? How does that affect, you as an African American or us as a group when we come to Africa, most notably even here?
It depends on the person's background. I come from street hustling, which is not professional business. So when you come from a background like that and having that kind of hustler's mentality, it'll help you navigate, as far as street life is concerned. But professional business, it's not really gonna help you much at all. It's hard for me to close deals sometimes because of either business language or confidence within the conversation. I might not have been able to get my point across to an individual to have that individual trust in me to take care of whatever it is. You know what I mean? So there are aspects like that, but that's what I mean, that it really depends on your background. Some people do come from a good background where even as a working class individual, if you were put in positions of leadership, you still know how to run and maintain a business. So if you come from that leadership background or you have that leadership characteristic within yourself, you should be fine no matter where you go, regardless of the fact whether you have a degree behind you or not.
Okay.
Right.
What about you, Gab? I mean, what do you feel about, coming from America? I don't know if you had business in America. I mean, I know you went to business school, but being in that situation from so many Americans that are coming from the 9 to 5 or working for a Fortune 500 company, and then boom, you're coming into Uganda where that might not matter, and then adapting to the challenges here in the private sector. How do you think most people will fare, or how do they get prepared for that?
My first experience doing business in Uganda was my first time in the entrepreneurial field at all. At all.
Okay.
I'm talking about when I was in school, summer jobs, all that stuff. I was a telemarketer. I worked in the shopping mall, retail shops. I was a mall security guard at one time. I worked construction. So I had a variety of jobs. I knew how to work. And as I went through college, I had internships that introduced me to corporate life, but I had never actually had like a full-time salaried job before.
Right.
So when I came fresh out of undergrad and I came here, the assignment that I had was to figure out how to help my mom, who had, just gone into remission from a recurrence of breast cancer. I had to figure out how to help her start and operate a restaurant business. She was a chef in the States, and then when they moved here, the point that he raised about Kampala will humble you real quickly, real quickly, because I didn't come from a space where I knew anything about the business that I was getting into. I hadn't even worked as a busboy in a restaurant before. But somehow, because I had a bachelor's degree and I was coming from the States, I had this artificial confidence that I was going to be able to do well here in this marketplace where maybe I was smarter than the average person, or I had more resources at my disposal than most.
That's that Western mentality right there.
But did you have the resources? You had was it true that you had more resources?
100%. I mean, we were starting a business with every failure being covered up by a check that my old man wrote.
Okay.
We ran this business, a failing business, for 2 years. figuring out, bumping our head, stubbing our toes, messing up in every possible way that we could because we didn't know what we were doing.
Okay.
And the most important thing that we didn't know what we were doing was understanding the landscape of this marketplace here. Setting up the business, you're dealing with, vendors, and you have contracts with the property manager that manages the building where you're setting up your space. Then you have to hire, recruit, train. Then you have to deal with all of the vendors within your business who are, the meat supplier and the beverage company that's selling you sodas and soft drinks, and a lot of moving parts. And you have to rely upon people who know better than you.
Okay, let me kind of cut you off. Let's get back to that. Hire, recruit, HRT.
Yes.
How that's a big problem for us coming from America.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I noticed that when I was in Dubai, man, you can see Dubai. One thing I'll give them credit for is, a Ugandan goes there and you interact with them at the Cheesecake Factory and they're on point.
Right.
But I've had a problem with that myself and trying to take me through the process that maybe some Americans will need to know about hiring, recruiting, and training, because you're going to be doing all of that as the owner.
First of all, don't make the mistake of getting into any business that you're not already expert in.
Okay.
That's the number one thing. Don't make the mistake of thinking that you're going to be able to come here with a bag of money and invest in X business, and just because you have the money to make it move, that's the contribution that's most important from you.
Okay, great.
You need to be the hands-on owner, operator, manager of that business for it to succeed, for it to get to a point whereby you can scale it and establish systems.
Right.
You have to be hands-on 100% of the time. 100% of the time. And that's a lot of where we suffered, is because we were hands-on, but we still didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Right.
We didn't know that when you send your guy to the market and he comes back with receipts that chances are there's a 30% inflation on what you're paying versus what it actually cost him. You know what I mean? We didn't know about inventory management system within our bar, where guys are selling cocktails under the table with liquor bottles that they've brought in on their own.
What?
You know what I mean? Yes, bro. Let me tell you something, man. It gets real out here, particularly in a cash business where there's always hand-to-hand transfer of currency, when there's so many people who have their hands on the money that comes into your business. It's crazy. So that was the biggest humbling experience for me. Like I said, Kampala humbled me. They told me that business degree that you got, that business management undergraduate degree, Bachelor of Science degree that you got, it don't mean shit. It don't mean a goddamn thing right here.
That's for sure.
So that's what motivated me to go back to business school.
Okay.
This entrepreneurial environment, I found, while it was very challenging, it is so rich and abundant in opportunity. And there's so much that you can achieve when you have the right plan, when you have the right work ethic, and you attack it intelligently with clear awareness of the environment that's happening around you.
Okay.
Once you can get there, oh yeah, your chances to succeed are tremendous.
Okay.
So I set myself on a path to doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go back to Obatunda. As far as, I know that you're the first person that woke me up about the poultry industry. I remember I laughed at you.
Yeah.
You telling me when I was like, I'm gonna tell you exactly what I told you. I was like, nigga, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? I was like, we city niggas, what are you talking about? Poultry? He's like, nah, bro, like this is a real thing, man. This is what I want to do. And it wasn't until we ended up going to Mbale, I believe later on that year. I don't know if you were still living in Uganda when we went to Mbale.
I was.
Yeah.
I was around.
Okay, we went to, and then I was like, oh shoot, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
So I know you've tried to do things like that here, but to the whole point of like finding collaborations with business ideas, what has been your struggles with finding people that you can trust, or people that you can hire, train, or attack the market, since you've been your experience in Uganda?
It's really getting my foot into the market. That was my biggest struggle, because every time I thought that I would have enough money to go ahead and invest, I would learn a new expense. And that comes into, like you said, being an expert in your field and being an expert in what you're trying to invest in. So I wasn't an expert in knowing about how to raise chickens and things of that nature. I just really had a good group of people around me who were already doing it, who already had chickens, at their home, and who already were dealing with selling eggs locally. But in my mind, I wanted to scale it up.
Mhm.
So in order for me to scale it up, there's a lot of things that I need to know. It's a lot of moving parts, in particular,
Mhm.
those expenses. And eggs are one of those things that can fluctuate as far as costs
Mhm.
because of, seasonal reasons or
The
where
feed
eggs,
cost,
the feed, all
goes
of
up
that
and down.
stuff. Then antibiotics, that's also a big thing. You don't keep up with your antibiotics with these animals, one can infect all,
Right.
and then boom, you lost your whole flock.
Mhm.
Stuff like that I just didn't even think about. I didn't consider, because I come from an environment where these are big corporations that have already capitalized on all of this stuff.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I get my stuff from Walmart or Food Line or something like that, or Kroger. So trying to get into that kind of business and doing it here, it's way, way, way different. So that was some of the things that I experienced. Another one was training issues.
Okay.
Because where I was doing this was in the Western region. So it's a completely different language barrier over what's happening here.
Okay. Let me just ask one last thing. So there were maybe some Americans that were here, or Ugandan Americans, or Black British people that were here that we just did not know about at the same. Gabo was here obviously longer than us.
Right.
Maintain was here longer than we were.
Right.
So when we came, it was largely maybe just us two that we knew about that were here.
For sure.
Shout out to Joel. He's Joel from Stanford. He's here. But what did you feel now? Like because there is more of a diaspora community here. How do you feel about interacting more with the diaspora community here as far as the information that's going out now?
Well, slowly but surely, I'm starting to interact more. Luckily for you, you invited me to that group chat. I didn't know that these guys had a group chat at first, so I kind of was just doing my thing solo. And once I got into the group chat, I started seeing how other people were communicating, handling, business to business relations and stuff like that, and how people were networking with each other, whether it's providing information for transportation services or distribution services, getting dogs for security. Simple things like that are really pivotal in these communities. But being a solo person, you just don't even consider that. I try to find the local way of doing everything, not realizing that there's a diaspora community that has already solved a lot of these problems. And sometimes I forget that there are many other diasporans and non-diasporan people too, like non-melanated people who have also been in Uganda for a very long time and have been finessed and figured out ways to not.
And they'll help you too. Like,
Indeed.
it's a lot of people that I will say this one thing, and we pro-blacks, but there's people that I meet that are white British and white Americans, and you kind of just understand that you're from the West.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the relationship that you can form. So
I have a good friend that I met here. He's been in this country for over 15 years, and he deals with IT and setting up the internet within this country. And anytime I have an issue computer related, I always go to him first, because this guy knows computer systems like the back of his hand.
Okay.
If I have an issue or a question about coding, question about AI technology, I would definitely go to him first.
Okay.
Because he knows how to not only use the technology, but implement that same technology here in Uganda.
Okay.
And that's a growing industry right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you said Uganda will humble you, and then Gabs also mentioned that Kampala will humble you real quick. Now, when you talk of Uganda, you also talk about its people. What was the one specific thing about Ugandan people that humbled you the most?
Ooh.
Okay, give us two.
One thing that really humbled me the most, I would say it's the friendliness of people. People here are extremely friendly, and when it comes to business, you don't have friends. And that's one thing I had to learn the hard way. You have business partners, associates, things of that nature, but you should not have friends. As far as like when you're trying to conduct business from one person to another, yes, you can have that friendship and that friendly rapport, but business is first. So a lot of times the friendliness of people would often allow me, I would be too trusting of individuals, and I would sometimes put too much on certain people's plate and expect them to take care of everything. And because we're friends and we're buddies, they'll take care of it on their time, not on my time. So, we have this thing in America called CP time, which is colored people time. And they got their version here too in Uganda. So
timing.
Yeah. African timing is crazy.
It's worse than CP timing. For sure.
So if I if I try to get something done in a short amount of time, like even now, I've only been here a week and I was trying to get certain things done, and there's a lot of things I was not able to do at all because of the African time.
Yeah.
And it used to be very frustrating, but like I said, now it's humbling because now I realize that, that's just one of those things with business. You have to be very stern.
Yeah.
You have to micromanage, like bro said. You have to really be involved in every little thing that happens in your business. If you're not, then it's just going to be pure chaos. So that was one of my biggest issues, just being entirely too trusting and too friendly with certain individuals and not recognizing the red flags and establishing those boundaries. Once I established those boundaries, I recognized those red flags and I addressed it right then and there. They might look at me differently, but at the end of the day, I didn't start a business to be everyone's friend.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So you should never have that mentality that you're starting this business to be the best friend of everyone,
Right.
So if there's something that's wrong, you need to address it ASAP. Don't ever wait.
Right.
Because when you wait, that's when people, take their time, get careless, and just move how they want to move. If that's not how you want to move in your business, address it immediately.
Oh, you're preaching today.
Yeah. Yo, I went through a lot.
No.
So stop scamming, Joan.
You go through these lessons
No,
and you learn.
I relate so much with people being friendly and then not delivering. Because you can laugh with someone and think, oh, this person has sense.
Right.
They'll actually do something good.
Right.
And then they deliver and you're just like, are you fine?
Can I say this?
Like, why would they spend money on that?
Let me just say this. There's one person in particular, I don't want to call their name, but I do notice that, okay, in comparisons to let me say culturally, being humble, I've noticed, and I could be wrong, in Uganda, I don't know about Kenya, but having a humble attitude or humble acting attitude is very highly looked at here. Like even for the Pan-African dating show, I will look at a lady and you will see comments, oh, she's so humble, she's so humble, she's so humble. And Ugandans, I believe, from a bird's eye view, they put an emphasis on a person being or acting humble. It's a real big thing in this society.
Yeah.
In our society, my parents were more concerned with be yourself, be outspoken. Don't let these niggas, my dad, you tell people how you feel. That's kind of how I was. Remember, most African Americans kind of raised like that.
Yeah.
And so we're very, get it out there, tell it like it T.I. is, not like it was.
For sure.
Okay. So for us, when we come across a person, let me just say humble appearing. We look at it as this, okay, because in America, if a person is like that, you must be like that because our culture don't teach you to be like that. However, some of the biggest monsters I have met on this continent were humble appearing.
For sure.
Yeah.
And, I know one guy in particular, man, I think even Satan don't want him. He told so many lies. And he's the most humble appearing guy that you've ever met. And the guy's a trash business person, and you can't trust him. So I think for us, we have to understand, like, okay, a person may be like that, and we may when you hear about Uganda, you always hear about how nice the person, how nice people, hospitable, and that is true. There's a big truth to that. But however, I think that in the business world, it's about what you can deliver on.
For sure.
So, and I think that some people, because a person is humble or acting humble, well, that person's he'll give another chance. Like Ugandans are also forgiving, just like us. Like,
They're more
he's
forgiving.
He's a nice person. She's a nice person. I like that person. Give that person a chance. Even if you fire somebody, like, oh, you should bring that person back, Bambi. All of that, and instead of just look like, this person's really damn near a killer almost. That what I mean, like.
Because they don't look at how it's affecting your business. They just look at how it's affecting that person. And
right.
They know, like,
they'll feel more sorry for the person that got fired,
right,
than the person
versus how badly he just ruined your business.
And for us, let me just say, like, there are people that are nice. Like I've dropped money before. People, hey, you drop this or whatever all the time. Yeah, people are really nice. But I think to the point where you're saying being nice and then being a person that's productive in an industry, those are different concepts, not to be confused or conflated with one another. Yeah. So, and like a guy was telling me, I'm going to say this, off the air. He was talking about, like for me, I'm not a person will look at me as an asshole in this business community, but I always deliver on what I say. But because I'm not the person that is so humble acting, humble appearing, it has stifled me here in some of the things that I would want to do because that's not my personality. It wouldn't even matter that you're productive and that you're good. You're not humble acting enough, so you're not going to go far.
Yeah. Right. It's performative.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Gabby's going to tell me if I'm wrong or not, but that's what I feel.
You're not wrong. I feel like it gets to a point
I'm
where
an asshole too, for sure. No doubt about it. And not going to change.
It gets to a point where it's performative, the being humble, you must be a certain way, you can't say this or you're too proud, or you can't do this or you're a certain way. We all need to be the same, or, you can't think outside the box. So
and they will humble you if you're not humble.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah.
So when I came into this phase of entrepreneurship back in 2011, one of the things that now learning from the experience of having been in the bar restaurant industry before, leaving that in 2006, going back to the States, studying for my MBA, spending 3 years in corporate America, learning and becoming better prepared to come back and give it another try. One of the things that I landed on was an opportunity to get back into the beverage industry by setting up a cocktail catering company. So my friend and I at the time, here's 2 lessons that I learned from this. First of all, do not set up a business with your friend.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right?
We were like brothers, man, but sure enough, 5-6 years later, that relationship ended up severed simply because the business relationship didn't turn out the way that either one of us envisioned that it would. And so it wasn't sustainable. Affected your personal relationship. It big time affected our personal relationship. So that was lesson number 1. But then lesson number 2 was, we were setting up a business that was so reliant upon other people's participation. Their willing and high level capability to participate in this. So one day we had an event. We had an event scheduled, and we were supposed to be doing a partnership with a bar where we were running a happy hour and we were introducing cocktails and we were having this whole experience. We had spent money, promoted, social media, DJ, all of that stuff. And don't you know, the 2 cocktail bartenders that we had prepared to have the event with, they didn't show up.
Oh my God.
They went AWOL. Like, my business almost died live right in front of my eyes that very night. If it wasn't for the fact that I had, a resourceful spirit and I was able to rally and figure it out, I literally would have failed right then and there in front of a live audience.
Whoa.
And so for me, as I understood the motivation for why those guys didn't show up later on down the line, it was like they wanted me to know that I couldn't do this without them. Wow. They wanted to remind me in the most inconvenient and pointed way possible that I could not do this without them. And so again, it was a humbling experience. It was a very humbling experience. And so just understanding how the relationships that you have with the people that you're relying upon to bring your business goals to fruition, how do those relationships actually matter to you? Are those disposable moving parts who you can just switch in and out? Or are these people actually that critical to you? Are you willing to perhaps reconsider the relationship and move that person from an employee position to having equity in the business that you're trying to set up so that they can actually feel some level of ownership in helping you achieve your goals and your ambitions? So all of that was a very, very difficult learning lesson that I was trying to figure out. And, fortunately, in hindsight, I've learned a lot of those lessons, and I've figured out the type of strategies that I want to employ in now growing the business. It's funny that Marcus and I are sitting here next to each other because we never met before today.
No, never.
Right? We never met before today. Yeah. Let me tell you what we have in common. You're from Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. What part of Virginia are you from? Norfolk, Virginia. So he's from Southern Virginia, right? Tidewater area, Chesapeake Bay, yeah. Chesapeake Bay, right? I'm from Northern Virginia, right? DC Metro, the DMV, right? My best friend from childhood, his name is Marcus, right? tall, big, light-skinned cat, right? Who went to Full Sail University.
For real.
Yes.
That's crazy.
African American?
In Orlando, Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. African-American guy from Northern Virginia. Marcus went to Full Sail University, studied music production, audio engineering, and all of that, right? You mentioned that you're very excited and interested in the poultry industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've literally just wired money today, 10 million shillings.
What?
For a massive investment in our poultry farm.
That's
In
crazy.
Kashari,
Not mine though, by the way.
right? So when we talk about things aligning and the universe kind of creating a common understanding of how you can come from two divergent paths, right? But there are so many things that we have in common. So many things that align about his story and my story and what it is that we want to take from this going forward, man. I was just sitting here just really kind of
Putting it all together.
putting it all together. I think that's pretty dope. Yeah.
That's why there's that strange saying, politics, now I guess you say economics, make strange bedfellows, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
let me add to this. I think that like coming here and you were saying some things about how those guys quit on you.
Yeah.
I always tell the story how I lost the entire Uganda business before. It was only just me and Joan left. It was thank you. Shout out to Satati.
Yeah.
He's the one that really brought us back, and then it was COVID because there was nothing else for the other guys. They came back too. So and then that taught me a whole lot about this, and just here in Uganda, it's like that saying, politics makes strange bedfellows. It's people that you would never hang out with in the States, that you would not be their friends. No disrespect to anybody, but if I was in the United States and you live there, I might not know you. We may not even care to know each other. But when you're here, it's like, man, I just can't necessarily replace this person that, is a brand manager for that. Like, I got to deal with that person. I'm forced to work with this individual, and I need to do it in a way that is communicative to them, to incentivize them to do something. And that's something that I've had to learn to do, even though in my asshole-ish ways, I've had to learn to, okay, I need this person to do this. What can I do to incentivize this person to get the result? Yeah. Fuck how I feel about what's going on. Yeah. I talked about that. I think one of the meetings we had, I was like, listen, I messed up a lot of opportunities for myself and maybe the greater diaspora because of my own personal feelings, even though I was right. But my attitude towards the situation I was dealing with was wrong because I'm not realizing where I'm at and what it takes for me to win in this particular environment, despite my personal attitude. And I think that's another thing too. We take a lot of things so personal here, with how we think. And it's like, if it gets too personal, I got to lay hands on somebody or whatever to get but that's not really the biggest problem that African Americans have is, number one, we don't need each other in America.
Yeah. Right.
We don't need each other.
Right.
Like when I'm in America, I don't, even if we were to hang out, I don't need you. I have my own job. You have your own job. You have 401k. We have reliable internet, electricity. Hi, Jonita, it's good to see you. I don't need her. But in Uganda, I need all of y'all. Yeah. Like, we need everybody, the middleman, the person that brings. We are so dependent on each other for every information. You got a guy. And we've never had to work with each other before as a community. And now you take somebody from 60, 70 years of not having to do that and then throwing the whole group of people there that don't have that. Like Indians, they have that history all the time. Yeah. And they had that history in Uganda and Kenya where they've been doing it for hundreds of years. So now you're taking people who have never had to work together. They didn't need each other in the United States. And they've worked for corporations, 401ks, retirements, or whatever. Now these people are like, once the honeymoon is over, like, okay, here's the fight. And now you have all these splintering different groups. So as Black Americans in the diaspora, we have to depend on each other a lot. Like, I got to depend on the Gab. I got to depend on, Obatuna. I got to depend on, everybody. And that's something that you're going to learn. You have to learn how to do. And if you don't learn how to do it, you won't make it here.
That's a fact.
Because you're going to be some people that you would not hang out with in the States that you're going to have to learn how to deal with. And there's some people that, in the States, if I don't like your attitude, let me go to your manager. That shit not going to work here.
Where's the manager?
Yeah, he is the manager. You know what I'm saying? You know that he is the gym manager.
Yeah.
So it's really put us as blacks in the world, like, how do we incentivize each other to do X, Y, and Z outcome? And in America, you don't have to do that, but like, nigga, fuck you. All right, you don't want to do it? Man, I'm going to, you trash anyway. You can have the attitude here, you will not get far. You're going to get punished. Trust me, I know.
Joan, I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
Talking about the mindset that a person needs to be prepared with, who's aspiring to come here for whatever reason, whatever business reason or whatever their lifestyle choices are that is going to bring them here, right? You have a consultancy business where you advise people who specifically are looking for a way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Once they touch down on the ground, the roadmap is kind of laid out for them in certain essential ways.
Yeah.
What are some of the conversations that you have with the people that you provide advice to around mindset, around these cultural differences that we're talking about? Because we didn't have the benefit of somebody to kind of warn us, or brief us.
No, Joan needed when I first came here.
Or advise us. And I think this is important because, first of all, I want to big up your business. I think you're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you so much.
I really think that you are providing people with an outstanding opportunity to learn from somebody who's really brilliant and smart. So those of you who are out there in the world who don't know about Joan's consulting business, check her out.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, what can we expect that you should be able to tell somebody, or maybe you can give us, without breaching confidentiality, a little bit of insight into one of those conversations that you've had with somebody.
I think I'll speak of like my most recent client. Shout out to her. She was an amazing lady. I think the one thing that I told her about mindset was, when you get here, like, to leave your individualistic mindset aside, like behind, and then like embrace a community type of mindset, and understand that Ugandans will be in your business. It can be it can be a good thing, but it can also be it can be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing, to understand that when you're coming here, it's more of, like what O'Shea said, you need to know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. So that is quite popular here, and then they should like embrace more of that and understand that you can just come here and lock yourself inside your house and hope to make it. I don't think that can work in this country. You have to go out there, you have to network, socialize, and integrate yourself into the society, integrate yourself into other people's cultures, and don't fit in, but because like you have to stand out in your own way, but like try to get along, like do your best to get along with the people that you can. So yeah, I think that's like the main thing about mindset that I try to tell all my clients.
There's one thing I used to warn people about too, especially like Black Americans, because we do this and we don't even realize it. We should not be coming to any foreign countries, especially Africa, with that savior mentality. I know what I'm talking about when I say that. Because even I had and didn't realize it. But I think it's really because of a lack of information of what Africa has to provide that we come over here thinking that we can just provide it for them. Not realizing that they might have a system already set up in place for that, or they're developing that system. You know what I mean? Because I used to ask myself, like, why certain things are the way they are, and why can't we just do it ourselves, And I'm just wondering, like, just pipe down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, we were there for some of the early King Obatunda pro-Black speeches. That was an hour-long, I mean,
brother. He was teaching us Ugandan things.
Falling asleep.
No, he would teach Kim and I a few Ugandan things that we
he used to have us up all night. Yeah, brother, y'all don't know the white man, brother.
I wasn't a hotel. I wasn't one of those.
You were preaching about the Kabaka and whatnot.
For sure, because I'm big on like cultural history, and the more I started to learn about my African roots and other African roots, I really started to get into the historical context of why things are the way they are. And in particular, I wanted to learn historical context of why Uganda is the way that it is. Because all I knew about Uganda before I got here was Idi Amin.
Yeah, that's the reason why I came. I ain't gonna lie. Idi Amin was the reason why I wanted to come to Uganda. I'm not even going.
So learning that Uganda has had a very important role in African history, in particular the diaspora, is amazing. This country is a melting pot. it's surrounded by all these different countries, and we have refugees from all the different places.
Everywhere.
And people visit.
It's like some of the most in the world is here.
For sure.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot to learn, and oftentimes I would just be so excited to tell people what I've learned.
Right.
Sometimes I would think like, maybe they don't want to hear this.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
That's what I found out.
Really
Like what I found out was say this. Working with my team, and you were here when the team was small and where we are now.
Oh yeah. I've seen it all the way from the beginning.
Is like, what is their incentive to want to work with you? And I figure like, okay, if I'm a real pro-black, which I am, a strong pro-black, I'm not a really I'm not a historian buff like you or George. Like, George is a man, he's like one of my biggest mentors in the pro-black community. But I'm in the business sector of the pro-black mindset. So I do business with a black mind. My goal is to just, okay, what is the value of us working together, and how can I display that and teach people the value in that? And I try to do it through the actions, and I think that's if we can be successful as a diaspora, as a community, as a country in Uganda, that will show people in itself without us having to do all the speeches and everything like that. I like those myself, but nobody wants to do that if they looking to pay their rent. They don't have no money. They don't want to hear no history. They like, what opportunities can you give me?
That's a fact.
If you don't give it to me, give me the white girl. You know what I mean? Give me the white guy. It's real stuff.
That's also because I didn't understand my crowd as well. A lot of my audience were the type of individuals who were looking to do just that, come over here and kind of set up shop or just come for a visit or something like that. They weren't really looking at the longevity of the country like the way I was. So for me, if I'm going to look to stay somewhere, I need to know everything culturally,
Right.
And I figure, that would be a good thing for me. It's more or less filler material for me to put out there for a lot of individuals in this community. Because I always felt like that was one of the things I lacked, was just a lack of cultural information. I feel like that could have helped me a whole lot more had I known about the culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But a lot of times when you have this great diaspora community, you don't really need to know all that stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff is something you can learn on your own time. It's not really something that you really need to be pressed about. You know what I mean?
Right.
I may have came off that way pretty much almost every episode because that's just what I like to do, is just talk about a lot of historical things.
Yeah.
Right.
And
We
just try to
not
bring
hear
it all
this.
full circle.
And last thing, we can't save nobody.
For
I
sure.
mean, like, I feel like as much as I'm helping them, I'm being saved too.
I was
Like,
just
you know
about
what I
to say
mean?
that.
So
They done saved me plenty of times out here.
yeah.
Yes.
So I'm learning, and it's just, as we're trying to build a black world, we're trying to work together. Because as Africa win, Uganda wins, we win. That's what Malcolm X said.
For sure.
Africa must be successful. He said that in 1963, which is the year that he got assassinated. It was 63, 64. Africa got to be successful. And so if we think about it in those terms, working with what we have, trying to do that. And that's just, again, Uganda will force you to work with black people. You have no choice.
Yeah.
You go, so you're not gonna be over here isolating yourself. You have to work. Maybe in Ghana you can do that because there's so many African Americans that you kind of isolate. But here, no.
Yeah.
You're gonna be working in the community.
Yeah. Speaking of the savior mentality, I saw a comment under one of my videos. The guy was saying he came to Africa with a savior. He called it a diaspora savior mentality.
Yeah.
But then he realized that he had to drop it because he also learned some things from the locals.
Yes.
He had to drop that saving because apparently he was going around and trying to save everyone, giving out money left, right, and center, trying to solve everyone's problems. But then he realized that was his downfall because he wasn't getting anything out of it. Then he stopped doing that and then started learning something from the locals, and he's now making it big, on the continent.
You start giving out money because everybody needs a sponsor. So as soon as you start giving out money, you're gonna realize
And once
you don't sponsor half the country.
Yeah.
It's not even a good deal. Don't even consider it. Unless you have an NGO or one of those type of nonprofits that's designed to help people like that.
Yeah.
Don't think you got to go out of your pocket to always, help people.
Help
A little bit of change here and there is
Yeah.
one thing, but I guarantee you, as soon as you start pulling that money out, the whole crowd will flock.
Yeah.
That's not to say anything bad about Uganda or Kampala, but it's just to speak on the realness of what's happening out here.
Right.
It's a cash-based society, and everything moves by cash. And some people depend on that little bit of cash per day.
Right.
So if they can find them a Mzunga that they can eat off of,
Yeah.
best believe you're going to be the one.
Yeah, but that's also not to say that there are not amazing people out there who'll actually give you value for your money.
For sure.
Hell
Value
yeah.
for your
For
money,
sure.
value for your
There
time.
are people that I
Amazing
actually want to
people.
give my money because of what they've done
Yeah,
for me.
like
You know what I mean?
brilliant and whatnot.
You can use in the United States right there. giving away your money to people trying to save them in the hood. Go to East Oakland, you'll give it away for free or by force, nigga. They ain't gonna take it from you.
But guys, this was a very, very good episode. It was a very positive episode. We hope that anyone who watched it picked something from it.
Yeah.
You can follow King of Tunda.
It's just Jamal 1 of 1. I recently changed my name.
Yeah, because I remember searching for you and I couldn't find you.
Yeah,
you're no longer King of Tunda no more?
No.
It's only King of Tunda on YouTube and TikTok, not Instagram.
Okay.
I'm using my Instagram for other things though.
Yeah, and you can find Agava at Master Gabs. I feel like that's
wasn't you watching this video before I even met you, right? You already knew who he was, right?
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
In SPK.
And I was watching his videos before I even met him.
Really?
Every time he was up here, I was watching him.
Oh, okay.
I was wondering, like, damn, when am I gonna get a chance to meet him? It's like he's out the door and I'm in the door. You get what I'm saying? So we would always miss each other somehow.
Yeah.
You take your spot, man.
Peace, family.
It's fine. I'll let you behind the cameras.
SPK was on the first episode of the Repat podcast with me, you, and Kim. That was the first time we did it.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, remember?
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Kim. And SPK was the one that set up.
R.I.P. Kim, man.
SPK set the template up for the Repat podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he edited the first 3 episodes. So shout out to SPK.
Man, you need to come back, man. SPK,
Jay.
where you at, man? Jay, come on, man.
Jay would be like,
it's funny y'all say that because when I hung out with Jay for the first time, like we had a great conversation. Everything was cool. I caught the vibes and everything, but I realized why he's like that,
Yeah.
Uganda is one of the places he might not.
Yeah.
He's just like that in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's cool people.
Yeah. He's from the DMV too, like y'all.
Oh, for real.
But yeah,
I told you
guys.
East Coast dudes is weird, man.
Shout out to Jay. I hope he gets to watch this. But yeah, thank you for watching. We've already given out our socials. You can follow us at King and the Nation. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.